Hey everyone, and welcome to the show that asks you to pull out your chairs, get out your TTRPG books, and join us at the table. Before we get into what we're going to be getting in today, if you haven't seen already, let's do a quick introduction. As always, the man on my left, probably your right, Mr. Michael Powell. Tell them who you are and where you can be found on that sweet, sweet internet.
Well, as PJ said, I am Michael Powell, and you can find me all over the internet on my social medias, which is usually at Mr. Kapow. That's MRKAPAO. And how about you?
My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at pj.mcgaw, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Come find me. Let's have a good time. And now, without further ado, we are going to talk about monks. It's actually kind of funny. Someone sent me a message, and this is just how far we've come as a society. They thought I said stonks. And now we can no longer not be those people anymore. So welcome to Monk Stonks. I am your host. Dear God, what?
We're putting some money down on some monk stonks. They're going to be bigger than Dogecoins.
Oh, yeah. Dogecoin's got nothing on the stomping monk stonks. I was going to say each day we strive farther from God's love. So, monks. The first thing about monks that I think is really fascinating is that monks have existed, I want to say, since like 2nd edition D&D or AD&D. I think AD&D. And when they were made by Gary Gygax, he wanted them to be the perfect class. Is that balanced? No. But he had some really interesting ideas. And the monk has evolved much since then.
Yeah. I also want to say that I did find it interesting that, monk was a class in AD&D, but when you stray to sort of the problematically named Oriental Adventures, the monk, they had a whole different thing for monks there.
Well, I was kind of getting at the point is this class has really grown a lot. It's been around since like 89, and it's like in 89, here's how broken a monk was in 89. Their damage table was 1d, whatever the weapon was, and that weapon could grow to the maximum of 1d20 plus X, where X is the value of your total HP. Think about that for a second. If you have 190 HP, that's 1d20 plus 190 per strike.
Yeah. And
thank God we got rid of that.
And also, I think one of the reasons why monks were so powerful back in the day was, it was during, like, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, the 80s and the 90s in the U.S., that was the big martial arts boom.
Oh, yeah. You kidding me? Ninjas, Karate Kid, Ninja Turtles. We were just dumbstruck by the concept of East Asian martial arts.
Yeah, we had, was it Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, the Shaw Brothers, Wu-Tang, all that stuff.
The Wu. But now here's the thing. And Gygax admitted this, and I can't say, maybe we can find out together, but the whole point about the monk is that it's not a traditional Buddhist entity, and it's not a martial artist in its entirety. It is kind of this fantastical understanding of those movies that we all saw in the 80s. So that is why there's going to be some crazy cool powers that make no sense, because it's kind of taking that fantastical aspect. That being said... wait, what's up?
I was going to say, with monk, it does also has a little bit of condensation, not condensation, I'm blanking on that word, but it has that little real world religious leaning to it. So if you're going to lean into that aspect of the monk, as always, especially if you're in a public table, like at a convention or something, just be respectful with it.
Yeah, amen. I've definitely played monks that their religion was not Eastern. It was just whatever made up religion was in the game. I think that's probably the safest. But moving right along. So what's interesting about this monk to start is that if you ever played monk in 3.5 or Pathfinder 1, this is going to be a little different. For starters, your stats are based off your strength or your dex. Now that's pretty much the same, but the problem is that in those other editions, strength was always the basis. If you're a rogue, you needed strength to deal damage with your dagger. Here, they're actually giving you the option instead of allowing you to include dexterity.
Yeah.
So see, that's a little weird. But also, your HP is not a D8; it's a 10. You
Yeah.
finally have the HP of a fighter class for once.
Yeah. I want to interject here really quick. I find the key ability kind of interesting. Yeah, it's always been strength or dex, but I've always felt it would have been more interesting to make this a frontline melee type fighter with their wisdom actually tied into to damage like that.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is interesting. There are some very rare builds, and they require you to be creative. Like, for example, if you are going to play 3.5, and I cannot recommend this enough, get a monk, get some levels of cleric or paladin. Paladin's better, and you'll see why. And get a fun little class called the Sacred Fist, because this is a class that combines divine casting classes, like a paladin's smite, and a monk's flurry of blows, which in 3.5 was bonkers town.
Yeah.
So consider that, if you will. But before we get too lost, there's some key terms to know about this class. Flourish, which I think we did a little bit with the barbarian as well. Basically, this means if the trait has a flourish, doesn't matter how many action economy you have left, you can only do this ability once per round.
Yeah.
They also have incapacitation. We'll probably see this for Stunning Fist. Spoilers, Stunning Fist. Of course, key spells. More information on this, but it kind of functions like the focus points, basically, and stances. We'll get to those in a bit. I'm going to break down the rest of this crunchy stuff really fast for you, and just tell me if this sounds overpowered. You start off trained in perception. Okay. You have expert in all 3 saving throws: fortitude, reflex, and will. You are trained in a number of skills equal to 4 plus your intelligence modifier. You are trained in simple weapons. You are trained in unarmed attacks. You are untrained in all armor, but an expert in unarmored defenses, and you have your trained in monk class DC. So out the gate, you are an expert in 4 things, all defensive.
Yeah.
And considering your offense is all mobility and like high total turn damage, that's a gross combo.
Yeah. Lower level monks do very well. Like you said, the fact that you're an expert in every saving throw, and also that 4 plus intelligent modifier to your skills, and expert in unarmored defense, right out the gate, you're coming in hot with a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, this class at level 1 is already better at surviving than the rogue is. Yeah, the rogue may get an expert in reflex, but I'm pretty sure they still have only a trained in medium and light armor. This guy's getting a +5 to AC, a +5 to all of his saves, and at least a +3 to hit, bar minimum.
Yeah, honestly, one of my favorite things to do with monk is if I get the free archetype rule, go rogue, like monk rogue.
Yeah, maybe you get some sneak attack on those punches because they're considered
Well,
lethal.
Yeah, with the first dedication, you get the surprise attack, but that lets you, gives you that little bonus to initiative. But then with your, I want to say your 4th level, you get that sneak attack, so you get that 1d4 extra damage on top of all the extra stuff that we're gonna talk about later. When it comes to unarmed damage with a monk, it gets bonkers.
Yeah, and I can't wait because like everyone always thinks my favorite class is barbarian. Here's the thing. It's secretly not. I just know that they're broken as fudge. My 3 favorite classes are actually Paladin, Magus, and Monk. And if you can give me a way to play any of those 3 or all of them, you made me a happy boy. And also, I like clerics, but that's for a different story.
We got Reap Psyche in chat posted no more glass cannon monks, and my favorite, it was Arcane Fist. Focus on grappling and then put a symbol of death / paralysis / etc. on your eyelids. Grapple and force them to look into your eyes, then blink.
I love that. That is brilliant.
I will say, I'm not sure if Monk gets Arcane Fist in this edition, but I do know that Magus gets Arcane Fist because that's what I got for my character
Oh,
during Jasper's game day.
dude, I remember we covered that. I remember Man for the Win in the chat
Mm-hmm.
was so he was excited for me to see how excited I
Mm-hmm.
was that unarmed magus is just a thing they give you.
Yeah.
I remember having to like, finagle it, but the fact that they just give you the most beautiful combo. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
also Reap Psyche, thank you so much for joining us for Jasper's game day. It was great to have you. Your little lizard boy was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Betty
let's move.
Rage.
Betty Rage. Let us cover some of the awesome class features, then we'll get into some of the feats as well as the focus spells
Mm-hmm.
slash key spells. So the very first thing to remember, and remember this word because this is the monk's Eldritch Blast, if you will.
Yeah.
Flurry of blows, bunches of punches. You
Mm-hmm.
can attack rapidly with fists, feet, elbows, knees, and other unarmed attacks. You gain the Flurry of Blows action. Flurry of Blows, one action. Make two unarmed strikes. If both hit the same creature, combine their damage for the purpose of resistance and weaknesses. Apply a multiple attack penalty to the strikes normally. As it has the Flourish trait, you cannot use Flurry of Blows, but only once per turn. So that's good because remember in 3.5 when you could do Flurry of Blows and do 6 to 8
Mm-hmm.
attacks, that's ridiculous. This is a little more balanced in that you could, in theory, if you really wanted to stack up a -10 penalty, you could do 4 strikes without quickened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not worth it though. That's the problem. It's really not
Mm-hmm.
worth it with the penalties.
Yeah. I will say this. I essentially like it because, especially at high levels, it's essentially the main character from Fist of the North Star. It's like,
Oh yes.
you're already dead.
Hakuto Shinken. God, I love that show. Oh,
I think
so
it's
good.
Omae wa mo Shindetsu.
Omayo wa Shindoru.
Yeah,
You are
yeah.
already dead.
I apologize for both me and PJ and our horrendous pronunciation of Japanese. Neither of us are Japanese. At least I know I'm not.
No, I'm very confident that I'm not. Look, you came for the monk, you're staying for the
Mhm.
weeb. I'm sorry. If that wasn't offensive, I apologize. That was insensitive. But so I think the trick here with Flurry of Blows, if you're gonna play a monk, you're gonna get this to level 1. This is gonna be your bread and butter. Keep it ready. But because the economy,
Mhm.
the penalty economy, doesn't stack up very well. We need to rethink now what Flurry of Blows is.
Mhm.
In Pathfinder First Edition, there was a style that monks could take, and it was called, I want to say, pummeling style.
Mhm.
And pummeling style basically was you would take your entire stack of Flurry of Blows, and instead of striking once at a time, you effectively put them all into a haymaker. So you'd punch a person one time with the accumulative damage of 3 to 6 strikes.
Mhm.
And that's what this is trying to do. And this is really great because at level 1, you're given a tool to bypass damage resistance and magical resistances that no one else can get
Yeah.
this early.
Oh yeah. And also later on, as we're going to talk about, your unarmed attacks are essentially going to be enchanted, loaded up with enchantments and bonuses. And
Oh,
also, I want to say, what's really cool about this is Flurry of Blows. Don't think it's just punches. It allows feet, elbows, knees, any type of unarmored attack. So essentially, if you're not incapacitated in some, honestly, even if you are, and say your arms are pinned down, you can still use your legs. As a GM, I will let you still use your legs.
yeah. Hell, if you want to go for style points, it even allows for elbows and headbutts.
Yeah,
You could just headbutt someone
yeah. And
very
also, I
quickly.
want to say, I believe certain ancestries, you can even use jaw attacks.
Yes, I think because it has to be considered an unarmed strike.
Hmm.
Now, here's things get weird. I want to make sure I'm not going to spoil something. I will spoil something for another ability at first level. So I'll bring this up once we're done reading Powerful Fists. But I'm going to skip initial proficiencies and level 1 monk feat because we kind of already
Hmm.
expected that. Mr. Michael Powell, why don't you read Powerful Fists?
All right. You know how to wield your fists as deadly weapons. The damage die for your fist increases to 1d6 instead of 1d4. Most people take a -2 circumstance penalty when making a lethal attack with non-lethal unarmed attacks because they find it hard to use their fists with deadly force. You don't take this penalty when making a lethal attack with your fists or any other unarmed attack.
Yeah, and that's something that should be mentioned. In every other edition, the kind of balancing feature of a monk is that your damage rises slowly,
Hmm.
but it rises as you do to a maximum of somewhere between 1d10 and, depending on the edition, 1d20, right?
Yeah.
So here's what's something that we all need to be aware of. Uh, you're never, with an arm strike, not counting stances, you're never going to do more than a 1d6.
Hmm.
There's a feat that lets you increase the damage of your deity's favorite weapon. And they make a special note. So they were thinking ahead on this one. If you are a monk of Iori, and Iori's favorite weapon is the fist, and you take this feat, you cannot exceed a D8. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
you cannot exceed a D6 to achieve a D8.
Hmm.
They say it right there for monks. So
Yeah.
remember that.
I also want to mention this. As a monk with your unarmed attacks, you're never going to be disarmed unless you're literally disarmed. You're always going to have a weapon, and even if you are disarmed, you got your legs, you got your heads, you got your shoulders. Yeah, you're not going to be without a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big, big bonus. And hand wraps and mighty blows. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, I was gonna go in the chat because Reap Psyche said the same thing
Hmm.
when they were making the Lizard Man for game day. He says I went all into unarmed attacks because there are so many options. Hand wraps and mighty blows are
Yeah.
busted good. God,
Yeah.
hand wraps and mighty blows is Christmas for monks.
Hmm.
If you're a monk and you get this, like be thankful because it is
Yeah.
quintessential.
Also, one more thing. What's really cool about unarmed attack also is you could just decide and just switch it from lethal attack to non-lethal attack. So if you want to bring him in alive, you can do that.
Hmm.
Just
Absolutely,
slap him.
and you can do it without penalty, which is
Yeah.
important. I'm going to skip some things here because we have skill feats at level 2, level 3 general feats, pretty standard. At level 3, you can also get incredible movement, which gives you a plus 10-foot status bonus to your speed when you're not wearing armor. And considering that you are expertly trained at armor at level 1 and your dexterity modifier goes into your armor directly, you will never need to wear armor. Get yourself
Yeah.
a magical bracelet or something. You're good.
Oh yeah,
Have fun.
monks are so good with mobility. They are honestly they're I want to say the best, the most mobile class there is. I would even say they outmobile the rogues.
Yeah, they really do. They get it's really because like they get so much passives. Like
Hmm.
take a look at Mystic Strike at level 3 after
Yeah.
incredible movement. This means all of your damage is considered magical
Hmm.
at level 3.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that if you go elf monk, your mobility increases on top of that.
Oh god, that's
Barry
right.
Alon, man, Barry Alon.
Barry Alon is the fastest thing alive. Now, the Mystic Strike does say you still need a hand wraps and mighty blows if you're going to get like a bonus to hit and
Hmm.
bonus striking damage. But the fact that you're level 3, you have an expert in half of your kit, you can punch twice in one action, by the way. Think about that. Amazing action economy. Two strikes for one economy or one action cost, and you can still activate a cantrip and move.
Yeah.
And now, whether you have the hand wraps or not, every blow you do is considered magic. Um, Skip ahead, you got skill increases at 3, ability boost at 5. Alertness gives you the proficiency rank perception increased to expert. So at level 5, we're pretty much on par with everyone else for perception. Ancestry feats, blah, blah, blah. But you also get the expert for your unarmed strike at level 5.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting here is your bonus to hit is going to pale in comparison to a fighter, but it's on par with a barbarian, champion, rogue, you name it.
Yeah.
Path to Perfection at level 7 shortly thereafter, you get to choose Fortitude Reflex or a Will saving throw. Your proficiency rank for that chosen saving throw is increased to Master. When you roll success, you get a critical success instead. And that's kind of weird, though, right? Because, like, normally they give you, like, Lightning Reflexes, Juggernaut, or Iron Will to kind of do that. Now you just straight up choose whatever you want. So now you get any kind of monk build you want.
Yeah, I really like this because also it also depending on how well you know your GM. You're like, yeah, they throw a lot of reflex saves at us, or they throw a lot of fortitude saves at us. You know which route you're gonna go down.
Yeah. Also, this is kind of perfect if you think about it. This allows you to fill in the gaps yourself. Since you start off as an expert, right, in everything.
Yeah.
Still broken. If your wisdom sucks or if your constitution sucks, that jump from a +4 or level +4 to level +6 for master is massive. And the fact that you get it at level 7, not even halfway, I think I don't know if most classes get master at 7. I think they get expert in something or they get critical specialization. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And I also want to say, once again, if you know your GM very well and you know their habit of throwing certain saves more often than not, you can even double up on that. Like, yeah, they throw a lot of reflexes at me. I'm going to double up and have that. I have a high reflex already. I'm just going to make it even higher with Path to Perfection. And you have a plus, like, almost flat +12, +16.
That's level 7.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
The math. Yeah, it is bonkers. Oh my god, that's a +13 flat, not including the stat it's based off of.
Yeah.
Oh. And then of course, while you're in Path to Perfection, you're dealing more damage for getting weapon specialization at 7. And at this point, you're an expert, which means okay, so the +2 is legit. No, I like level 9 because level 9 is kind of going into what you got before with the arcane strikes or mystic strikes. Now you're getting metal strikes. So if you're fighting like a fey creature, someone who's weak to cold iron, your fists count as cold iron in silver. So you can punch those fey right in the jaw and just still knock them out.
This is great for those Halloween sessions. Because, yeah, you're going to be facing demons, devils, and fays. And I also want to say, I call metal strikes the Iron Fist.
Oh, yes.
The power of the Iron Fist.
I love that. And also, this is cool because this makes them a devil killer, too. Because silver and the magical stuff, unless they have some weird hyper-specific resistance, a monk at level 9 is going to be punching demons to death.
Yeah. I mean, you're already going to have your fists, even without hand wraps, are already going to be considered magical. So this is like another, thing on top of it.
Yeah. Really fast, I want to jump in the chat and say hello to Ilanufield. I might be butchering it because it's been a while, but good friend of mine from Scabby Rooster days. Good to see you, Ilanufield. Great seeing you in the chat, Ilanufield. Gotta get it right. So monks, in this deep dive, we're basically, in this TED Talk, I will prove the monk is the most broken class. So at level 9, you also get an expert in your class DC. This is really good because Stunning Strike alone is enough to make this valuable immensely, but there's a lot of classes whose class DC never really gets higher than trained. I want to say a lot of the fighting classes have that issue. So the fact that you can get an expert in it, hold on, let me do some math really fast. So at level 9, that would be 9 plus 4 is 13 plus 10. So mean at level 9, your DCs are about a 23.
Yeah.
A little higher. It might be based on your stat too. So it might be, let's say, strength. Let's just give you 20 for a 5. 28.
Yeah, and also I want to say this, like, I should not say this to on this show because PJ's here and he is our GM for Edge of Legend, but yeah, GMs out there, scale your encounters and adventures to your players, especially once they get to higher levels because stuff like this.
Yeah. One of the great things about Pathfinder 2e that I love is that they recommend if you want to take a normal creature and make them more like stronger, weaker, or elite of the same level, they give you some fast math on how to do that in a way that's easy, but also allows you to make sure that you're not breaking their science by overpowering some low-level creature. It's really smart.
I'm jumping in chat real quick. Alana Field posted, "You are good, PJ," and of course, Michael, my favorite questionable politician. Well, if you watch Edge of Legend, now I'm also a questionable investigator.
Oh god, it's
Typecast.
so funny. You totally took the oh god, what was his rank? Chancellor of Wolai?
Yeah, the counselor.
The counselor. You totally took the counselor of Wolai and made him into Rufa. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Typecast.
That's
I need
okay.
to play something different
always,
next time.
I'm always a good boy, and every time I play a not good boy, I always feel dumb. So let's see. So level 9, we get that massive jump to DC. Second path to perfection, level 11. Much like the previous one at level 7, but this one, basically you choose another one of your 3 saves. So let's say you chose Fortitude at level 7, and you're like, I really need that to fill in the gaps of the difference because I don't have a high con.
Yeah.
Dope. Level 11, now you get to spoil yourself as a monk. You already have a high dexterity, and you probably will have a high wisdom. So throw that into any one of those, and the GM's just going to hate your saving throws.
Yeah. This is really good because, like we said earlier, it essentially lets you to customize your character. Monks is actually very customizable.
Yeah, we're not even at the feats yet, and I'm seeing so many different builds based on raw stats.
Yeah.
Like, how gross it gets. Level 13, Graceful Mastery, you get Mastery in Unarmed Defense. So that means without wearing any armor at level 13, your AC is, let's see, 13 plus 6 is 9, plus, let's be nice and say dex of 20, so that's 5, so that's 20, 34. Your AC is 34 at level 13. That's offensive. That's offensive.
Yeah.
So
and also,
insulting.
I want to say, by level 13, you're going to probably have some sort of bracer or a ring or boots or, robes that will already increase your AC. So that acts as your plate mail or plate armor. And then put this on top of it, and it stacks, and you don't have to worry about dex cap. Oh.
Huh. Now, to be fair, a CR 13 creature is probably going to have approximately a plus 20 to hit, right? So a 10 up. I usually find a 10 up is a good way to stat out as a GM a fair, way to hit and be hit. Like if my creature needs to roll a 10 up to hit the players, that's pretty fair. It's 50%. If they need a 10 up to hit this creature, or a 12 up if you want them to be really tough, that's fair. But this means, my good friends, if you fight someone who's just level 10 and below, they can't freaking touch you, dude.
Yeah. Like I said, Monk is one of the most customizable classes that you could make. And then you have the whole archetype system where you could combine it with other classes or essentially, I guess, pseudo classes. You can make whatever monk you want with this system, with the Pathfinder second edition system.
Yeah, I mean, the creativity and the flexibility, this has always been key. With the feats alone, the class feats alone, not even going general and ancestry and all the amazing combinations of ancestries, but this unto itself, And then you should look at the raw damage here. Level 15, you get the greater weapon specialization. So at this point, you're a master, right? So you're getting a +6. And if you're doing flurry of blows with, let's just say, the +5 dex modifier for the damage, and you're doing, let's see, probably have a hand wrap of mighty blows. I'm going to say 15 +3 with a greater striking rune.
Yeah, your monk is literally just flexing.
Oh god, math time. Let's say both strikes hit. You're probably doing 46 plus 12 two times. You're doing 8d6 plus 24 damage with 1 action cost.
Oh, PJ, I just realized something. Once the Magus class officially releases and we get to see how the archetype progression for the Magus, and I'm pretty sure they're going to have Strike Spell to be their core ability for that archetype, combine it with the Monk.
Oh, with the flurry?
Oh yeah.
I think I could rule it as a GM where, because rules is written, it goes off on that 1 strike, right?
Yeah.
So if you charge even a cantrip, that first strike is going to be cantrip plus strike, and that's going to be sick.
Dude, PJ.
But then add to that the second strike. Oh my god.
On top of it, like I said, you're, as a Magus, you're probably going to get a cantrip or two, get the produce flames, and then put that produce flames into your unarmed strike with spell strike, with all the stuff as a high level monk. You are decimating your competition.
I would even put this out there because, like, fire is really good, but I think we all have that fear. Endgame, fire always falls on his face because fire, everything is resistant to it, right? So my thought is this: add chill touch, do negative damage, and then just start lighting them up with those like life-ending punches.
Or Ray of Frost, and I think it's slow them, or I forgot what is it, enfeeble or slow, or something. You're adding that status penalty where they're moving slower.
Yeah, I think it takes away about 10 feet of their speed, depending on their, if you crit or not.
Yeah, you're essentially Alex from Street Fighter Third Strike. You can't escape.
Maynard will know this. This is inside joke theater. It's like you're moving in slow motion. We played way too much Virtua Fighter 5 for a while, and Jackie Bryant said that way too much. But I digress. At the last 15 features, third path to perfection is basically the third choose your own save to upgrade. In fact, I like this system a lot. I kind of wish that they had this across all classes, but I could see why they wouldn't, for the sake of class balance.
Yeah, I honestly, I wish that the investigators got this. It would make sense for the investigators to get this, but the investigators, we already get a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, your guys' ability to replace your attack rolls and damage rolls with intelligence and all your skills is necessary but broken.
Yeah, we're essentially a divination wizard with melee stuff.
And knows, you're like if a divination wizard and a rogue had a baby and lost all of its magic.
Yeah. But that's archetypes. That's what archetypes are for.
Sadly true, yes. Now, this one at level 17, I'm kind of on the fence about it. It's adamantine strikes. Basically, your strikes are counted as adamantine weapons with the purpose of overcoming damage resistance. I don't know at level 17 how valuable this is.
Yeah, it's certainly a bell and whistles. It's like the extra stuff that the car dealership people, like, you know what, we'll give them this. It doesn't really mean anything, but it looks good on paper.
Yeah, because like there is absolutely a need for adamantine weapons in the game, but I feel like at 17 that's a little too late. Like maybe when you
15?
got the, honestly, I would put it with the cold iron and the silver, because you're going to be using cold iron and silver a lot more. They're going to be using adamantine.
I would say 15, honestly, mainly for the fact that it's that last little bell and whistle. Honestly, you're going to need.
Yeah. Alana Field, quick shout out. She was saying, Michael, the favorite questionable politician. You're just questionable, Michael, but I love it. Alistair had a questionable choices like your dead ex. Look, sometimes love happens, and just because they're bad choices, it's good for TV. Now, after Adamantine strikes, we have our 2 capstones, and this is interesting because this is where the monk becomes ultimate.
Yeah.
Graceful Legend is bonkers. All it is a massive buff to everything. Nothing fancy. Your defense becomes legendary. So it's 17 plus 8 plus dexterity plus magical items plus 10. What is that math? I don't want to do it. It's at least 50. It's stupid.
Yeah. You know that that quote from Bruce Lee, that be like water? Yeah, this is the mechanics of Pathfinder of that quote.
If you've ever punched water and thought you've heard it, ask it how it feels. If it says nothing, you haven't heard it. So your rank in your class DC becomes master at this point in time. So your legendary defense, master DC, so it's harder to save, and all of your attack rolls, spell DCs, everything else,
Yeah, with key spells.
is also master. So at this point, you're getting so many bonuses. God forgive the person you miss, because you're going to come at them with something different.
I want to say this: there's just one feat, this key spell feat, in that we're going to talk about later, that I've used when we played that Ross Rave Party, that I thought was absolutely broken. And adding this on top of that, the combo, oh, damn!
Speaking of damn, let me read for you what Perfect Form does in Pathfinder's Second Ed. Now, in other games, Perfect Form usually gives you much more defenses to save. It basically makes you immune to age, a bunch of other stuff. That might be Perfect Body, but similar. In Pathfinder, level 19, Perfect Form gives you assurance to attack rolls.
Yeah.
You cannot roll less than a 10 on the die. So if your bonus to hit and all your stats and just a flat out 10 hits the person on your first strike of your turn, you cannot roll below a 10.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, you're pretty much guaranteed a free hit unless your GM is like, wants to be kind of a jerk and go, yeah, this guy has a 500 AC.
Oh, well, man. Now, to be fair, like I said, with the way I do my math as a GM, this is just the way I do it. Everyone's got a different way. If I'm creating a monster from scratch, I try to make sure that the bonuses that they have and the DC they have is a 10 up, right? So they would have to roll a 10 up to get hit or be hit, to hit them and be hit. Now, in some rare cases where I want the creature to be a little tougher to hit, I make that a 12 up, right? And the book even recommends doing this. So here's the one time where assurance would not work, is if you do that in mind, they go, okay, in order to hit this guy, they have to make it 12 up on the die. And then assurance doesn't work for squat.
Yeah, and I also want to say another way to bypass this would be, like I said, little GM tool. The thing is incorporeal.
But not as a monk, because monk attacks count as bypassing that with the magic and all the metal and everything else.
Actually, not. I don't think so. You still need to have ghost touch.
It depends. Ghost touch definitely helps. We need to look in that further, because I know in other editions.
I kind of want to say it depends on your GM also on this.
Well, and that's absolutely valid. At the end of the day, what GM says goes. But I know that in previous editions, it was ghost touch or a magic item. But let's confirm that later. I'm sure some of the chat will be already letting us know what's up. Now, I think it's time for the monk feats. This is the second level of juicy goodness. Why don't you start with the top one, Michael Powell?
Alrighty. Well, let me see here. First one up is Crane Stance. Level 1 feat. The requirements are you are unarmored and you enter the stance of the crane, holding your arms in an imitation of a crane's wings and using flowing defensive motions. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to AC, but the only strikes you can make are crane wing attacks. These deal 1d6 bludgeoning damage, are in the brawling group, and have agile, finesse, non-lethal, and unarmored traits. While in the crane stance, reduce the DC for high jumps and low jumps by 5. And when you leap, you could move an additional 5 feet horizontally or 2 feet vertically. Also want to point out, to go into a stance, that does require usually one action. It's usually your first action of the round, but once you're in that stance, you're in that stance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stances are interesting. I think it was, oh God, I forgot their name, Gorgon, that called it Stance Dance Revolution. And the stance dance is something to really consider. The fact that that stance gives you an attack that is better than your normal attack, but also gives you a benefit, is worth it. For example, Dragon Stance, the next one. One action. Oh, yeah?
Oh, sorry. I also want to point out, if you want to leave the stance or switch to a different stance, unless you have a special feat, which we're going to cover later, that also does take one action, usually.
Yeah. So you could, in theory, attack, change stance, and attack again in the other stance. And I think that works rules as written. Dragon Stance. Now, the Dragon Stance can be used with Monk, but can also be achieved through the martial artist archetype. Requirements: you are unarmed, of course. You enter the stance of a dragon and make a powerful leg strike like a lashing dragon's tail. You can make a dragon tail attack that deals 1d10 bludgeoning damage. They are in the brawling group and have the backswing, non-lethal, and unarmed traits. While in dragon stance, you can ignore the first square difficult terrain while striding. So instead of doing 1d6, you're now jumping up to the damage of, I want to say, a bastard sword or a spear, polearm, and you get the backswing ability. So if you miss an attack again, I believe you get less of a penalty on the backswing.
Yeah. Okay, the next stance we're talking about is another level 1 feat. It's called Gorilla Stance. It's one action. You lower yourself to the ground and take an imposing knuckle walking stance. While in the stance, the only strikes you can make are Gorilla Slam unarmed attacks. These deal 1d8 bludgeoning damage and are in the brawling group, and have backswing, forceful, grapple, non-lethal, and unarmed attack traits. While you are in the Gorilla Stance, you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to athletic checks to climb. And if you roll a success on an athletics check to climb, you get a critical success instead.
God, that's really good at level 1. Like, I know the Dragon Tail sounds good because it's a D10, but grappling, getting a free grapple, especially when you could easily turn this into a grapple monk, is, it's ridiculous.
I do want to also point out that with this stance, though, you're not a dex monk because it does not have neither the agile or the finesse trait.
Very true, and it's forceful as well, and the grapple is based off your strength stat. I know oftentimes we all want the monk to be based off of dexterity, and that's extremely valid. It does help a lot, makes things streamlined. But if you want certain strong abilities, you're going to have to kind of...
You're going to be playing a strength monk, and that's what's really cool about this stance system is it allows you to make the type of monk you want. They're not all the same.
Yeah, I think it's right now, just at level 1 is already more versatile than anything else.
Yeah.
Reap Psyche said, the leader of the bunch, you know him well. What's really sad about that is for about 5 years in Hollywood, I did a improv stage combat show called The Video Games, and for like half of that, I played Donkey Kong. So I have a special place in my heart for Donkey Kong. The other thing you choose at level 1 is your first focus spell called Key Rush. So for focus spells, you can have a maximum of 3 spell points. You can get them back by refocusing 10 minutes per spell point. It's kind of a nice, fun, and fast way to get free special powers.
Yeah.
In the case with this Ki Rush, it's one action accelerated by your ki. You move with such speed that you become a blur. Move 2 times, 2 strides, 2 steps, or 1 stride and 1 step in either order. You gain the concealed condition during this movement and until the start of your next turn. At level 1, you're outpacing the rogue
Yeah.
almost embarrassingly so much. And Jesus, the monk makes the rogue look like a punk.
Yeah. PJ, monk archetype rogue with Ki Rush.
Oh, and
Just
getting
saying.
that stealth attack at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And on top of now I realize on top of that is if it's the top of the round, surprise attack. You get that bonus to your initiative.
Yep. And if you take, I forgot what it is, but you get the later feat, so you can do sneak attack at a D6. Just doing that stride, that Ki Rush, and then getting the sneak attack with the flurry of blows. That's bananas. And you don't have to be that high level. You can probably get all of that level 5 or 6 with the high enough sneak attack.
Yeah, we're not even done with the level 1 feats. There's so much more stuff. Honestly, the front end of the feats for the monks are so good.
They're insane.
Yeah.
Why don't you read Key Strike?
Yeah. Speaking of good, Key Strike, level 1 feat, you study the flow of mystical energy, allowing you to harness it into your physical strikes. You gain the Key Strike key spell and a focus pool of 1 focus point. The rules for key spells are summarized in the key terms, blah, blah, blah. And the full rules, the Key Strike is basically, let's look that up. You focus your key into magical attacks. It's 1 action, verbal. You make a unarmed strike or flurry of blows. This doesn't change the limit on using only 1 flourish per turn. You gain a +1 status bonus to your attack rolls with the strikes, and the strikes deal 1d6 extra damage. The damage can be any of the following types of your choice, chosen at each time you strike. Force, lawful, only if you're lawful, negative, or positive. Yeah, this is essentially
Oh my god.
it's the rogue sneak attack for monks.
Now here's the weird thing. This is the balancing factor to this insane cantrip. Well, sorry, not cantrip, focus spell. It only gets heightened once 4 levels later. So level 5, it increases by an extra 1d6. But think about the action economy, right?
Yeah.
You're doing Key Rush, and if you want to use another one later and get Key Strike back, you can. So you're using Key Rush to strike twice and get concealment, and assuming that you have the stealth check or whatever in your provoking sneak attack, then you're using Key Strike to then do flurry of blows. So you're running at them for 2 whatever, getting a bonus to your AC, potentially even a stealth. If they don't see you, you're hitting them twice for an extra 2d6 plus sneak attack.
Whew.
So much pain.
Yeah. All right, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. Now we're doing the monastic archer stance. Now we're getting to the Zen archer, if you remember that from Pathfinder 1. Requirements, it's 1 action. You are unarmored and wielding a longbow, short bow, or a bow with the monk trait. You enter a specialized stance for unique martial art centered around the use of a bow. While in this stance, the only strikes you can make are those using longbows, short bows, or bows with the monk trait. You can use flurry of bows with blows. Yeah. Sure. I said that wrong, but whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. You can use other monk feats or monk abilities that normally require unarmed attack with these bows when attacking within half the first range increment. Normally 50 feet for a longbow, 30 for a short bow, so long as the feat or ability doesn't require a single specific strike. Special, when you select this feat, you become trained in the longbow, short bow, and any simple or martial bows with the monk trait. If you gain the expert strike class feature, your proficiency rank for these weapons increased to expert, and if you gain the master strike class feature, your proficiency rank for these weapons increased to master. So if you want to be a Zen archer, this feat literally does all the work for you.
Yeah. Oh man, and this is so good with Elrich Archer archetype or the Archer archetype. And
Hmm.
as you're reading through that, I think I got another character I want to play at some point.
I mean, there's definitely a possibility to make a really good Eldritch Archer, Zen Monk, or Zen Archer. I think
Yeah.
you're required to have some caster in there. So if you can like probably sneak an archetype of like, I don't know, wizard or sorcerer or something.
Yeah, yeah. But honestly, it's it's not that difficult, and actually, it'll be really interesting to see because you don't really see people playing monk go down this route.
No, I know Zen Archer in Pathfinder was a really popular class choice because the bow and arrow damage was just insane and doing like 9 shots
Mhm.
was ridiculous. Um,
Oh, PJ, I
mhm.
just looked it up. To be a Eldritch Archer dedication, you don't
Mhm.
need to have any spell casting ability.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's good. Did we cover the Eldritch Archer? I think we did that
Not. I don't think so. Not yet. We did the Archer, but not the Eldritch Archer. I kind of want to say, or
because I
I
know
don't know.
I
I don't
want to
remember.
because it's been a while. I want to say, chat, if you know what we're talking about,
Yeah.
like, comment, remind us of our own words because I know we've
Yeah.
covered Dragon Disciple and Shadow Dancer. I want to say
I'll,
about
I'll
the other
look
one.
through. I'll look through the records, but it's been we've done 40 plus episodes of this, so it's been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a while.
it's been a while. But anyway,
Before I get silly.
let's move on to the next feat. Monastic weaponry, level 1 feat. You are trained with the traditional weaponry of your monastery or school. You gain access to uncommon weapons that have the monk trait and become trained in simple and martial monk weapons. When your proficiency rank for unarmed attacks increase to expert or master, your proficiency ranks in these weapons also increase to expert or master as well. You can also use melee monk weapons with any of your monk feats or monk abilities that normally require unarmed attacks, though not if that feat or ability requires you to use a single specific attack, such as Crane Stance. Yeah, you essentially get to use just a lot of really cool monk weapons now. That they've released, like the Temple Sword. I really
Yeah.
like the bow staff. It gives you that really nice reach. Uh, there's like what is it? I'm blanking on that weapon. It's a rope with a ball wrapped in also cord attached to it.
Yeah.
That's sick. Or the rope dart.
Yeah, I want to say call it Meteor Hammer. I might be
Mm-hmm.
wrong. The good thing though, looking at this is if you like Kensei monks from
Mm-hmm.
that other edition, this one feat lets you create.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just a base for Kensei. You can do a whole bunch of crazy stuff after that. Uh, you just get this, and all of a sudden, all of your feats apply to whatever weapon you're
Mm-hmm.
wielding. Really good. Next up, we have Mountain Stance. One action. Um, Apparently, the martial artist can also access this ability. You enter the stance of an implaceable mountain, a technique first discovered by dwarven monks. I love that. Allowing you to strike with the weight of an avalanche. The only strikes you can make are, yeah, the only strikes you can make are falling stone unarmed attacks. These deal 1d8 bludgeoning damage, brawling group, forceful, non lethal, and unarmed traits. While in mountain stance, you gain a +4 item bonus to AC, plus your circumstance bonus to any defenses against being shoved or tripped. However, you have a dexterity modifier capped to your AC of +0, meaning you don't add your dex to AC, and your speed is reduced by 5. The item bonus to AC for mountain stance is cumulative with armor, potency runes, or explorers, clothing, mage armor, braces of armor. Okay, so this is interesting. It's weird because I would imagine at level 1, these are also level 1, if you have a maxed dex of 18, you're losing 4 AC to get a bonus 4 AC. Doesn't really do anything for you. And you lose your speed, which is one of the biggest things monks get.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you really get that sticks around is that +2 against being shoved or tripped,
Yeah.
which
I want to say if you're like our one of our favorite dwarf Itchy, that bonus is pretty helpful. It has come up from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it could definitely be useful. I just think that of all the amazing level 1 feats,
Yeah,
this one is
that it does lag. It does lag.
yeah.
But I want to say you can actually combine this. Well, a little spoiler, you could combine stances, and this as a combination to another stance might be helpful.
Oh man, we have so much we have to get through.
Yeah,
All right, just so much. We're not even level 2 yet.
yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the next one. This next stance, I want to talk about it. It's not in the core book, but it is a really cool stance, so I want to talk about it.
Okay.
It's called the Reign of Ember stance. It's one action. Requirements are you are unarmored. You enter the stance of an enraged phoenix, holding your fingers as rigid as deadly talons while moving with quick, flickering gestures that dance with biting flames. The only strikes you can make are fire talon strikes. These deal 1d4 fire damage, are in the brawling group, and have the agile, finesse, fire, non-lethal, and unarmed traits. While in Reign of Ember stance, you gain a +1 bonus to AC and fire resistance to half your level, minimum 1.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you're definitely losing a good amount of damage with this ability, but you're gaining so many interesting benefits.
Yeah, you're getting that +1. You're getting passive abilities like that +1 AC, and also fire resistance equal to half your level. I want to say, if you're playing like a one shot or a campaign, it's not going to get past level 10 or so. Fire resistance from level 1 to 10 is actually really useful.
Yeah. Tiger stance. Level 1 action. You enter the stance of a tiger and can make tiger claw attacks. These deal 1d8 slashing damage. Brawling group, agile, finesse, non-lethal, and unarmed traits. On a critical success with your tiger claws, if you deal damage, they take a persistent 1d4 bleed. As long as your speed is at least 20 feet while in tiger stance, you can step at 10 feet instead of 5. Tiger stance is
Yeah,
insane.
tiger stance is one of the more
God
popular
damn.
stances.
I can see why. The fact that on a crit you put bleed damage at level 1, that's enough to kill a man.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, it's really nice. Once again, mixing tiger stance with something else, ooh, so good.
Ooh.
All right, the next stance I want to talk about, once again, it is not in the core book, but it is based off one of my favorite movies of all time with Jackie Chan. It is Stumbling Stance. I'm sorry, PJ, I know we want to, keep this, but this is a really cool stance.
That's fair.
Stumbling Stance, one action, prereq is you have to be trained in deception, but it does, which means you can still wear armor if you want. I don't know why, but you can be armored for this. You enter a seemingly unfocused stance that mimics the movements of the inebriated, bobbing, weaving, and leaving false openings and distracting your enemies from your true movements. Drunken boxing, yo. I love my favorite Jackie Chan movies. Drunken boxing. While in the stance, you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to deception checks to feint. The only strikes you can make are stumbling, swing, unarmed attacks. These deal 1d8 bludgeoning damage, are in the brawling group, and have the agile, backstabber, finesse, non-lethal, and unarmed traits. If an enemy hits you with a melee strike while in the stance, it becomes flat-footed against the next stumbling swing strike you make against it before the end of your next turn. So
I think this is actually the perfect monk rogue combo feat, because the backstabber trait means that basically what it says is if you ever catch them flat-footed, you do an extra 1 damage, you do an extra 2 damage if you have a +3 weapon. But consider this is built to hit flat-footed creatures. Why not get like 1 or 2 monk archetype feats, so now when you just whip back and do that drunken straight punch or even a drunken haymaker, you're getting +2 damage, +d6 on top of everything else, flurry of blows, go home and have a pint. Like, that's Ooh, that's really
I
good.
really want to play a drunken monk at some point. Some point.
Yeah, Rip Psyche is saying Legend of the Drunken Master is one of the best movies ever.
Oh,
I
so good. So
agree.
good.
Jackie Chan's ability to be expressive in combat with that style of combat and his acting was superb. Like, if you love thesis crafting
Oh
and
yeah.
fight crafting, it's brilliant. Sleepy Jester, actually never played a monk before. Well, welcome today's TED Talk. Monks, are they broken or super broken? Find out.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm leaning towards. I'm in the middle right there, between
I'll
broken and super broken.
I'll say this. So far, we've covered just their basic traits and the fact that they start off as experts in over four things. Their defenses are insane, and the fact that they get to choose how their
Yeah.
defenses level up
Oh,
is
the
gorgeous.
flexibility of a monk. Ooh.
They may not be dealing the kind of damage that a barbarian could on a rage, but their defense, their versatility, the fact that naturally speaking, everything they do is considered magical and
Yeah.
special metal,
I want to
they're ne-
say.
they're never
I,
going to have a need for anything.
I want to say monks, while they're not like Nova DPS, they are dealing consistent damage across the board and also have consistent passive abilities. That's useful.
Yeah, yeah. Burst DPS is great, right? The rogue that hits that sneak attack, that barbarian that crits, that is amazing.
Hmm.
But knowing that that fighter or that monk is going to go up and do 30 damage every time, you
Yeah,
need that.
Sleepy Jester 34, Ip Man, yes, it was amazing. And is there
Oh
a
my
way to
god.
build a monk like Tony Jaa? Honestly, we're barely through the level 1 feats, and I
We
can tell
just
you,
got done.
yes, yes.
It depends what Tony Jaa. Are you talking like the TIE fight Tony Jaa? Are you talking about the time he went to become a Buddhist monk and learned like 16 different martial arts styles, Tony Jaa?
Um,
Depends on what you want.
elephant loving Tony Jaa.
Oh, oh, the Elephant movie. Such a good movie.
Yeah.
And without further ado, this stance, this one is for, okay, it's been a
Mm.
while. First cuss word. This is for shitters. This stance is for that, because it's wolf stance. There's nothing wrong with this stance, but it makes me think of Wolf Fang Fist, and I think we all know what that means.
Yeah.
Wolf stance, one action, just like these other stances. You enter the stance of a wolf, low to the ground with your hands held like fanged teeth. You can make a wolf jaw unarmed attacks that deal 1d8 piercing damage, and the brawling group, agile, backstabber, finesse, non-lethal, and unarmed traits. If you're flanking a target while in wolf stance, your wolf jaw unarmed attack gets the trip trait. So it's really good for pack tactics, controlling
Hmm.
people, controlling combat. And again, if you really want to find a way to combine monk and rogue, the fact that this gets tripping, which forces them into a
Yeah.
flat-footed position, and gets backstabbing trait for more damage,
Oh yeah.
not bad.
This with the stumbling stance it are my
Mm-hmm.
favorite level 1 stances. And you know what? I'm just gonna say this right here. I stand with Yamcha. I stand with Yamcha. Yeah, he was essentially neutered in the later Dragon Ball series, but in the original Dragon Ball, he's actually pretty powerful.
You know, yeah, you make a very solid argument. Like, especially late Dragon Ball, when the kids start growing up a bit, and you have
Yeah.
Tien Shinhan before the third eye pops out.
Hmm.
Yamcha was not bad. Yamcha, much like everyone else in Dragon Ball, before Toriyama kind of turned Goku into Jesus, everyone was actually really good. They had
Yeah.
different things, though, right?
Hmm.
Yamcha kind of became a squatter around, I want to say, the
When Buma
Vegeta
dumped him,
saga.
when Buma dumped him.
The Vegeta saga. Once that kicked off and he became a failed baseball player and stopped doing martial arts, and then the androids just made a mockery out of him. It's like, why? Why?
All right. Anyway, we are finally moving to level 2 feats.
Jesus Christ.
It's
You want
called.
to? Yeah,
Uh,
sorry, go for it.
all right. Let me see here. Let's see. Looking up. Okay, here. Brawling focus. You know how to make the most of your attacks when fighting hand-to-hand. You gain access to critical specialization effects of unarmed strikes in the brawling group and weapons in the brawling group. If you have monastic weaponry, you also gain the critical specialization effect of all monk weapons in which you are trained. So, yeah, you get access to the critical specialization of brawling groups and all that stuff. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's nothing really super flashy, but it's nice. It's a nice bell and whistle.
Exactly. I'll say the one thing that makes this great is that most fighter classes, fighters, barbarians, whatever, get their weapon specializations as a natural ability, but they get it much later, 5, 7, 9, depending. The fact that you can get this at level 2 for fists is really nice.
Yeah.
It may not be necessary, though.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to say, this is one of those things where you get it at level 2, and then really quickly retrain out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you can retrain out of when you absolutely having a knockback or stun effect. Well, no, stun's actually pretty good. Either way, crushing grab, not crushing crab.
Yeah, I want to say this. For the longest time, I thought the ability was called crushing crab, and the fact that a lot of the stance are named after animals, it kind of made sense, but nobody ever corrected me. Why won't people correct me on this? Please correct me when I get something like this wrong.
We're trying to be polite. Here's what's great. If you take crushing grab and the gorilla stance, you have the build of a really good grapple monk. Crushing grab, when you've successfully grappled a creature, you can deal bludgeoning damage to that creature equal to your strength modifier. You make this attack non-lethal with no penalty.
Yeah.
So you can basically get them in a bear hug, immediately grapple them, and just without having to roll to hit or anything, just automatically do about 4 to 6 damage no matter what.
Yeah.
And never break that grapple.
Reek Psyche posted, "Nope, it's crab now. I like crab way better."
You know what this conversation has become in the chat? Chat, you need to know this. You have now just become the debate between return to monkey or evolve to crab. We have Dragon Ball Z and crushing crab. I leave the debate to you.
There you go. All right. The next, we are now moving to level 4 feats, and this is called Deflect Arrow. It's a reaction. Requirements are you're aware of the attack, you're not flat-footed, and have a hand free. And the trigger is you are the target of a physical ranged attack. So yeah, you're not going to be able to catch a spell, but if it's an arrow or a bolt or a rock or something, yeah, you gain a +4 circumstance bonus to AC against the triggering attack. If the attack misses, you have deflected it. You cannot use this feat to deflect unusually massive range projectiles such as boulders or ballistic boats. Yeah, you're not going to be able to catch a tree thrown at you.
There's no reason why you
Well, technically you could catch a tree, but you're going to get knocked back along with that tree.
That makes sense. Really fast. There's a few feats that I think stepped over from the core rulebook. I'm gonna knock them out really fast. Don't worry, they're very simple. Oh, it's very fine. No, it's okay. So at level 2, you can also get Dancing Leaf. You get plus your jump is increased by 5 feet, whether it's long or horizontal. And when you're calculating fall damage, don't count any distance fallen while you're adjacent to a wall. That's really dope. Elemental Fists. When you act.
I was gonna say let's actually just go through it normally because I like the discussion part of this.
True. We could do that, but we are a little kind of running low on time. So I just want to kind of sweep these out. So the Elemental Fist, whenever you use a key focus spell to attack, like the Key Fist, you can basically make that extra damage elemental of choice. Not more damage, same damage, but elemental. Stunning Fists. This is huge, because if you play 3.5 or Pathfinder 1, this is a necessity. The focus power of your flurry threatens to overwhelm your opponent. When you target the same creature with 2 strikes from flurry of blows, you can try to stun the creature. If either strike hits and deals damage, they must succeed a fortitude save against your class DC or be stunned 1 round, or stunned 3 on a critical failure. This is the incapacitation effect. Now, here's why this is the best ever. In the past, you had to have a currency to use Stunning Fist, and you had to hit once and declare the ability ahead of time or declare it after it landed, whatever, limited economy, blah, 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 blah. This is for free because Flurry of Blows is free. If you hit any strikes with Flurry of Blows, you can declare for free they have to now make a Fortitude save against your dummy thick class DC or be stunned up to 3 rounds for free.
Yeah.
What? Anyway.
Oh, it is nice. Yeah, if you're a monk, highly recommend taking Stunning Fist.
Dude, it's bread and butter from 3.5 for a reason, but like if you find something that absolutely is up your alley on level 2, which quite frankly, it's between what this crushing grab and Stunning Fist.
Crushing crab.
Crushing crab. Get Stunning Fist. Don't make a mistake. Get Stunning Fist.
All right. Now we're back to the level 4 feats. This next feat is a advanced player's guide stance, but I want to talk about it because it's also another feat that I really like. This is basically if Rufa was a monk. If I ever have a monk archetype, this is what I would give. This is a stance I would give Rufa. It's called Cobra Stance.
Yeah.
You enter a tight stance, coiled up like a lashing cobra with your hands poised as venomous fangs. While in the stance, the only strike you can make are Cobra Fang unarmed attacks. These deal 1d4 poison damage, are in the brawling group, and have the agile, deadly D10. Finesse, non-lethal, poison, and unarmed attacks. While in Cobra Stance, you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to Fortitude saves and your Fortitude DC, and you gain poison resistance equal to half your level. Okay, this is really nice because, you're dealing less monk damage to 1d4. You're trailing a little bit behind, but you have that deadly D10.
The deadly D10 makes up for that lack of damage, not to mention the poison effect of the damage. And the +1 bonus to Fortitude saves and DC also means that you're going to be harder to grapple. Not just saving against poison, like physically controlling you is much harder now. It's insane.
And on top of that, you also gain poison resistance equal to half your level. I want to say poison resistance is one of those resistances that's good across the entire level 1 to 20 board, you know? Yeah. And also, what is it? This is actually really nice to also combine that with the Poisoner archetype.
Ooh, yeah, very much so. Because now you're playing monk. Like, okay, so really quick, because we have to stop talking about anime. But Baki season 1, he fights one of the crazy inmates, the one on Netflix, and one of them is versed in poisons. So like he basically coats his hand in poison, and he fights you with that. So if he hits you, you're poisoned. And I'm seeing that build from this.
I want to say it's kind of like a Street Fighter 4 or 5, the character Bang, who one of the new characters, one of the bosses, the new bosses, Shadow Lu. His attacks are pretty much poison.
Yeah, Fang Fong. I don't know what the name is supposed to be pronounced. Like it, he kind of falls short in the roster. But the concept of a poison fighter in Pathfinder, Street Fighter, I think is interesting. Really quick, Flurry of Maneuvers. It's another level 4. This allows you, during your Flurry of Blows, instead of punching, to do a grapple, shove, or trip. So as you're throwing one punch, you can punch, grapple, you can punch, throw, punch and sweep the leg, which could be nice.
Yeah, adding that to your action economy with Flurry of Blows, it's really good. It's really good. All right, next up is that iconic Flying Kick. It's a 2-action ability. You launch yourself at a foe, make a leap or attempt a high jump or long jump. At the end of the jump, you're adjacent to the foe, and you can immediately strike that foe with an unarmed attack, even if that foe is in midair. You fall to the ground after the strike. If the distance you fall is no more than the height of your jump, you land upright and take no damage, which you can mitigate with feats like Catfall. And I also want to say, or certain, talismans, like I think it's called the Jade Grasshopper or something. But essentially, this is your monk ability to your anti-air. This is your anti-air.
Yeah, and it's really useful too, especially if you're trying to fight like the reason why flying kick was actually invented. If you want to attack a rider on a large-sized creature, like a horse or something, you could, in theory, do a flying kick, single him out against the horse, and knock him down. Next up, guarded movement. You get a +4 circumstance bonus to AC against reactions triggered by your movement. So attacks of opportunity, traps, whatever. You have a +4 against that AC. It's okay.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It's solid.
Yeah. Our next one is another Advanced Player's Guide stance. It's really quick. It's called the P-Foul stance. One action. Requirements are, the prereq is monastic weaponry, and the requirements are you are wielding a sword that has a monk trait in one hand. You enter a tall and proud stance while remaining mobile, with all the grace and composure of a P-Foul. While in the stance, the only strikes you can make are melee strikes with the required sword. Once per round, after you hit with a monk sword strike, you can step as a free action as your next turn. This is really good if you want to be that Kensei monk with mobility.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned mobility. The next one from the core rulebook is a reaction called Stand Still. And I kind of like this one because it's the only attack of opportunity I think the monk's going to get. They might get it at level 6. But a reaction, a creature within your reach uses a move action or leaves a square during a move action it's using. So even stride, even step, also triggers this. You strike out when your foe tries to flee. Make a melee strike against a triggering creature. If the attack is a critical hit and the trigger was a move action, you disrupt that action. If they try to leave, and you're like, no, smack, stay where you are. And you get to shut down a granted, you can only do it once, it's a reaction, but that's at least one of their action economies gone.
Yeah. All right, next up is called Wholeness of Body. You can restore your health by tapping into your chi. You gain the Wholeness of Body key spell, increase the number of your focus points in your focus pool by 1, and the Wholeness of Body ability is one action, verbal. You heal yourself in one of the following ways, chosen by when you cast a spell. You regain 8 hit points flat out. 8. You attempt to cure 1 poison or disease affecting you. Attempt to counteract the affliction. And the heighten is +1 each level. If you choose to regain hit points, the hit points regain increase by 8. This is really nice because, you're not leaving it to chance. You're not rolling a dice. You're getting that +8 flat out.
I really like it because, like, focus spells are already heightened, right? So, like, I think level 3, level 4, now you're just healing yourself for a free 16 HP.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Let's see here. Need to open that up again. Monk feats. I have lost my place. Abundant step. Yeah, abundant step. You can teleport yourself a short distance. You gain the abundant step key spell. Increase the number of focus points in this pool by 1. So, the abundant step key spell. You teleport up to a distance equal to your speed within line of sight. This is a 1 action cast with a range of 15 feet or more. It seems nice. I guess the only good thing about this is when you would have to teleport as opposed to run, because like maybe you want to teleport over a trap or up somewhere. That flexibility is good, but it doesn't really provide more movement, just different movement. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that.
All right. Next up is we are now in the level 6 feats. This is the upgrade of your crane stance. This is really cool because your stances could be upgraded starting around level 6.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah. It's called Crane Flutter. Your prereq is you have to have crane stance. Requirements are you are in the crane stance, and the trigger is you are targeted with a melee attack by attacker you can see. You interpose your arm between yourself and your opponent. Your circumstance bonus to AC from crane stance increases to +3 to the triggering attack. If the attack misses you, you can immediately make a crane wing strike against the attacker at -2 penalty, even if the attacker isn't within your reach. This is really nice because, yeah, it gives you that passive +3 AC, and if it does miss you, you get an attack of opportunity.
And that's always good.
Yeah. And
Does it
also,
actually
yeah,
provide an
range.
attack of?
Yeah, it's pretty much that with a -2 penalty, but range does not matter.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like a sneaky way to get an attack of op with
Yeah.
penalties and ACs. I like that. That's really interesting. I'll see what Dragon Roar is. It's a one action. It's the next step in the dragon stance. You bellow, instilling fear in your enemies. Within a 15-foot emanation, must succeed a will save against your intimidation DC or be frightened. Frightened 1, 2 on a critical failure. When a creature is frightened by the roar, begins its turn adjacent to you. It can't reduce its frightened value below 1 on that turn, so it's always afraid of you as long as it's close by. Your first attack that hits a frightened creature after you roar and before the end of your next turn gets a +4 bonus to damage. Okay. After you use Dragon Roar, you can't use it again for 1d4 rounds. Oh, that's so cool. It affects end immediately if you leave Dragon Stance. That's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
I will say this though, making an intimidation dragon stance monk is a little bit mad, but it could be helpful. It could be useful.
Next up, let's hit that Gorilla Pound.
All right, Gorilla Pound, the DK Pound. All right, level 6. It's one action ability. Prereq is Gorilla Stance, and you have to have intimidation. You are in a the prereq. The requirements are you are in a Gorilla Stance. You pound your chest before slamming to your foes. Attempt an intimidation check to demoralize. Then make a Gorilla Slam strike against the target, and if that strike hits, you gain a circumstance bonus to the damage roll to triple the value of the target's frightened condition. And if you have the speed while in your Gorilla Stance, you also have a climb speed of 15 feet. This is nice. This is, once again, you're going to be a little mad if you're going to be making a intimidation-focused monk, but very useful. Very useful.
Yeah, very good. I mean, yeah, you're definitely going to probably have to prioritize strength over dex, but either way, it's going to be good. Now, this next one I'm super excited about is called the Ki Blast. Gives you the Ki Blast focus spell, and yes, get your hands together and put them to your side, because this is a Kamehameha. It is a 1 to 3 action ability. It can be either a 15-foot cone or more. You unleash a ki as powerful as a powerful blast of force that deals 2d6 force damage. You use 2 actions. If you use 2 actions to cast Ki Blast, increase the size of the cone to 30 feet and increase it to 3d6. If you use 3 actions to cast Ki Blast, increase it to 60 feet and increase the damage to 4d6. Each creature in the area must attempt a fortitude saving throw. It's a basic save, so critical success, unaffected. Critical failure, double damage, but also they're pushed back 5 to 10 feet. And it gets heightened every level of the spell, and it's increased by 1d6 on the baseline, or 2d6 if it's 2 or 3 actions. This could be approximately like 10d6 in a 15-foot cone, and up to maybe 15d6 in a 60-foot blast.
Yeah, this is it's a combination of crowd control and also your another option for anti-air for a monk, because typically monks are that class that gets up close and personal and kind of lacks towards fighting things that are flying or have the higher ground, but this kind of evens that out.
when you absolutely positively have to make him say night night, you just Kamehameha with the monk, and it's
Yeah.
boom.
Oh yeah. I kind of want to say because we talked earlier with that monastic archery ability. I think you combine that with this, so you can essentially Kamehameha your arrows. Kamehameha.
You might be able to, depends on the description, because it does give spit out PJ some monk abilities able to do from a bow. Oh my god, and I'm seeing instead of like shooting with your hands, you just like from Overwatch,
Yeah.
like Regigetsu, like I don't know, whatever the hell
Yeah.
Hanzo says, the dragon fires out of the
Oh,
bow.
I want to play an archer monk now so bad.
Do it. Be
All
the
right.
Hanzo. Be the Hanzo main that we all know you are.
Oh god, I will cheese everybody. But anyway,
Yeah.
we went from range, and now we're gonna get up close and personal again with the Mountain Stronghold. One action prereq is Mountain Stance, and the requirements are you have to be in a Mountain Stance. You focus your connection to the earth and call upon the mountain to block attacks against you. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to AC until the beginning of your next turn, and if you have this feat, the dex modifier capped to your AC while in mountain stance increases from +0 to +1. Honestly, at this level, you're making a very, very Pacific monk. Normally, I want to say this feat kind of lags. It kind of trails behind some of the other really cool stuff you could get.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Mountain Stronghold is that they keep trying to create a monk tank, a stationary monk tank, and that defeats a lot of the purpose of your monk build. Remember, your monks are built for high speed, amazing versatility, incredible flexibility, and reliable DPS versus burst DPS. Now, you can try and mitigate that however you want to. Absolutely, that's the beautiful thing here. But that's really a lot of what they excel at is just it's like we're monks, we're better than you, and we know it.
Okay, MJF.
So I just feel like the mountain stances are suffering a little bit compared to everything else.
It's a very, very Pacific build. You have to have everything just right, or it's not going to work.
Yeah. Also, jump in the chat. Hey, Alex, great to see you in the chat. So sorry you can't stay, but great to see you. Binary Fireball, as always, I love that name. And let's see who else. Man for the win, and there's a lot of reasons to not play the game right now. Yeah.
Reap Psyche. It's that Johnny Cage energy.
I mean, yeah, you could easily make a monk or a magus unarmed variant. For that Johnny Cage style.
Or combine
we're at... Oh, now this is one... I want to read about this just because I've been talking about it for a while. It's technically Advanced Player's Guide, so please humor me. 1-inch punch, 2 or 3 actions. Prerequisites, expert strikes. At this point, you're already an expert in striking. You put all your force into a single, mighty, carefully controlled blow. Make an unarmed strike. If you spend 2 actions and this strike's hits, you deal an extra die of weapon damage. You can instead spend 3 actions to perform an even more powerful attack, dealing another additional die of weapon damage on the hit. And if you are at least 10th level, the number of additional dice you add from this feat doubles for a total of 2 additional dice if you spend 2 actions, or 4 additional dice if you spend 3. If you're at least 18th level, that goes up to 3 additional dice for 2 actions, and 6 additional dice for all 3 actions. Keep in mind, this still allows all of these dice to be doubled on a crit and does not factor in the other dice added for a striking rune. Now, granted, you're throwing a lot of your actions away. But at 18th level, that is a thick amount of dice.
Yeah.
Dear God.
And also the fact that you pretty much, later on I think it's at Capstone 19, you essentially have assurance with your melee strike.
Oh no!
Yeah, you're One Punch Man. You're One Punch Man.
Oh, you really are. At level 20, you get the assurance on attacks. So as long as a basic
Not even
attack
20,
would hit.
19, 19.
Oh, honestly, what I would do is I would still take the roll. I wouldn't even just hand wave and say
Yeah.
assurance, because if you dirty crit, that is bonus 12 dice
Yeah.
without factoring in what you naturally
PJ.
have. This is bonus 12.
PJ, you still get a roll, but the lowest flat roll number that you have is 10. So you can still possibly roll critical, but at the very least, it's gonna hit.
Do you see why I've been wanting to talk about this feat? This feat is insane. And
Yeah.
there's another feat called 1mm punch. That's the level up of this, and I believe yes, really quick.
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that.
All right, we'll get it because it's level 16
Yeah.
feet. So let's
Yeah.
move our way down
We're
there.
still at level 6, and
Oh.
this one is another advanced player's guide one, but I kind of want to talk about it because we talked about the deflect arrow already. Because this is the upgraded version, Return Fire.
Yes.
Prereq is deflect arrow, and also you have the monastic archer stance. And the prereq is you are in the monastic archer stance, and you're wielding a bow and have a free hand. Snatching an arrow out of the air, you instantly put it into your bow and return fire. When you successfully deflect an arrow, as part of that reaction, you can immediately make a ranged bow strike by firing the arrow you deflected from your own bow. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is that monk archer. Oh, this is so good with monk archer. You want this as a monk archer, even though I love 1-inch punch.
Yeah.
If you're making the monk archer, you want this.
What's funny for me is that this reminds me a lot of the gunslinger ability. That is exactly the same mechanically across the board. It's the exact same move. It's just bullets don't work that way, so we were like, that's goofy.
Yeah.
But it's silly to be like, here's a bow and arrow, like here's an arrow coming my way, snatch, thwing. You know, it's just
Oh man, that's so nice, so nice.
Stuff's is weird.
Yeah.
I am going to go to Tiger Slash from the Tiger Stance. This is the Tiger Stance evolution. 2 actions. You make a fierce swipe with both hands. Make a Tiger Claw strike. It deals 2 extra weapon damage dice. Oh God. Okay. It does 2 extra weapon damage dice. 3 extra if you're 14th or higher, and you can push the target away 5 feet, as if you'd successfully shoved them. If the attack is a critical success and deals damage, add your strength modifier to the persistent bleed damage from your claw.
Yeah.
Oh no.
This is why Tiger Stance is
that's
so
amazing.
popular.
Because here's the thing. Every time there's persistent damage, usually it's like 1 dice, 2 dice, 3 dice, whatever, and you roll that dice and it's whatever that is. And sometimes that's just like 3 ones, and it's like, well, 3 damage, who cares? This is effectively 1d4 plus 4 if you're a strength build. They're going to be taking 5 to 8 damage. Doesn't matter. Oh my God.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's
This is
insane.
why people take Tiger Stance.
Oh, Tiger Stance so good.
All right.
What's the
I'm going
next
to talk about, actually, we already talked about the stumbling stance, so I'm going to talk about the evolution of that, which is called stumbling feint. This is your next evolution of your drunken boxer. Prereq is stumbling stance, and you have to be an expert in deception, and requirements are you are in the stumbling stance. You lash out confusingly with what seems to be a weak move, but instead allows you to unleash a dangerous fury of blows upon your unsuspecting foes. When you use flurry of blows, you can attempt to check to feint as a free action just before your first strike. On a success, instead of making the target flat-footed against your next attack, they become flat-footed against both of your attacks from flurry of blows. I like that.
I kind of like that.
I like that. Yeah, that further increases your sneak attack. Yeah, essentially you only do get to do 1 sneak attack per action.
Hmm.
But oh god, okay, you're gonna be a little mad. But if you put maybe another class's ability, like maybe I kind of want to say the investigators studies. No, you can't do investigator strike. Maybe the panache ability, one of the panache abilities of a swashbuckler, that might stack. But the fact that they're flat-footed against both of your attacks from flurry of blows, you're essentially mitigating your second um, what is it? Penalty on your attack.
Yeah. Um, I want to say I don't think the multiple attack penalty takes place with the flurry of blows. It takes place after, I
Oh,
want to
okay.
say. So you're building the penalty. So if you attack a third time, that's going to be a heavy penalty.
Yeah.
I may have to go back and confirm that. But regardless, that's still really good, especially if you do have a sneak attack or study strike feature. Next one down is kind of it's basically catfall on water. It's called
Mm-hmm.
water step. You can stride across liquid surfaces that don't support your weight. This benefit lasts only during your movement. If you continue moving on a watery surface that can't support you, you fall in or it collapses as normal. This is very much those movies you grew up with, like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Yeah.
where they're just running across water
Mm-hmm.
from the wires. Uh, I don't think this is the best use of a level 6 ability because you're not getting water walk. You're basically getting the fall for only so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I would say this should have been like a level 3 feet kind of, or even level 2.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, this is basically if you want to be super mobile, I guess.
Hmm.
Next one though, this is for you grapple monks out there. Grapple monks, they're not going to be as good as a barbarian grapple barbarian, but grapple monks are still possible and they do have uses. It's called rolling throw. Prereq is you have a creature grappled or restrained. Yeah, this is basically your bread and butter core of your grapple monk. You propel your grabbed or restrained foe. You propel your grabbed or restrained foe a great distance. You can throw the creature any distance up to 10 feet plus 5 feet times your strength modifier. If you successfully throw the creature, it takes bludgeoning damage equal to your strength modifier plus 1d6 per 10 feet you threw it. Attempt a athletics check against the foe's fortitude DC. You take a -2 circumstance penalty to your attack if the target is one size larger than you, and a +4 circumstance penalty if it's larger than that. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to your check if your target is one size smaller than you, and a +4 circumstance bonus if it's smaller than that. Critical success is you throw the creature the desired distance and it lands prone. Success, you throw the creature the desired distance. Failure, you don't throw the creature. And critical failure, you don't throw the creature and it's no longer grabbed or restrained by you. So even with critical failure, it's not super terrible. And the fact that you could throw them, you could throw them against towards another enemy, and if I'm your GM, I'll be like, yeah, you know what, that's gonna be a penalty to
Oh,
both of them, and on top of that, you can literally throw them off a mountain if you're fighting on top of a mountain or some high ground.
I just realized because I know you've been wanting to do like a wrestling class, right? Like a whole class dedicated to like wrestling. And I said,
Yeah,
I think there's other ways to do that without making a whole thing for it. What I love is this is amazing because what they've done here is created math good enough for any GM to make a wrestling system because
yeah,
they've established a precedent for damage. Obviously, this can be enhanced, but it's 10 feet to start plus 5 times your strength modifier. If you have a 5 modifier, that's 35 feet, meaning if you throw them, you can do 3d6 damage and
yeah,
send them 35 feet away. That's
yeah. And
amazing.
also that penalty of circumstance penalty. If you have Titan wrestler, yeah, you don't have to worry about it pretty much at all.
Yeah, to a degree. I think it's mostly just yeah, you're right. The penalty is for a bigger creature. Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's a really cool thing.
Yeah, this is your core bread and butter if you're going to be building a grapple monk,
Oh
which
my God, yeah.
literally, I'll talk about it later. But yeah, this kind of relates to what Rufus kind of started off with during pre-production meetings. And
I remember
also
that.
the fact that
Originally,
yeah,
you wanted to have like a wolf style so that you could help the team by tripping people,
yeah,
and then from there you went, I want to use the whip instead to trip people, and it was a
yeah,
very interesting
yeah.
pre-production time.
And also the fact that rolling, honestly, this is just, yeah, honestly, I kind of want to say, even if you're not building a grapple monk, this could still be useful.
I think right now what it seems to me like, because a grapple monk, the only reason why we're hitting this note a lot, besides the fact that we love wrestling, is
Hmm.
that like back in the days there was only so many different monk builds, right? There was
Hmm.
high dex monk, there was the grapple monk because they got so many cool perks for grappling, but it had to become entirely strength based,
Yeah.
and then there was the Zen archer. So we're getting touches of the old monk gaming culture, if you will, with these,
Hmm.
and I kind of see
Yeah.
like a combination of the gorilla stance
Hmm.
and whirling throw for a really good build
Yeah.
centered around this.
Kind of want to also say, honestly, with Pathfinder and the other system, there's never really been a really super great grapple system. But
Mm-hmm.
with Pathfinder Second Edition, with abilities like this, it's a step towards the right direction. If you want to get a grapple system that's easy to understand and also fun to play, because I want to say this. I looked at the previous Pathfinder First Edition, the grapple chart tree, and I got a headache.
Yeah, the grapple tree in first edition Pathfinder was designed to be something that you would base your entire character around. There was
Hmm.
an archetype called the Trattori monk that was all about different grappling maneuvers like neck snap, back break, tackle, all these different things. But changing really fast, I want to admit to everyone, I read ahead and read the wrong thing. It wasn't grabby hands because I wanted this feat. I do, but it's grabby hands because I thought he was going to read wolf drag, and I was doing a wolf mouth,
Oh,
and I'm a baby. Okay, wolf drag, two actions. You rip your enemy off their feet. Make a wolf jaw strike. Your wolf jaw gains the fatal D12 trait for the strike, and if the attack succeeds, you knock the target prone. I
oh, this
I
is
had mixed
nice.
feelings about this because it's not the deadly D12; it's a fatal D12, and what that means is that instead of adding damage with the regular dice, your dice turn into
Hmm.
a D12. The damage is already like a D8 or a D10, so the upgrade is nice. It's not really bountiful. It's not really that great. The only really benefit here is that you're going to knock the target prone.
Yeah, like I
But
said,
we've already had a wolf ability that knocks a target prone. So,
yeah. But well, that with that ability, you have to still kind of roll that athletics trip check. This one
mm-hmm.
is, if it hits, they fall flat. They don't have to make they don't even make a check. They automatically just fall on their ass.
I see what you're saying. If it hits, it trips. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
I want to say it's actually, I like it. I like it. This is the tiger stance and the wolf stance. They kind of like, definitely when it comes to like the numbers game, yeah, tiger stance. But when it comes to adding debuffs, wolf stance with a little bit of that damage, it's like it's very close behind it.
yeah, and I mean, I think that's also like, again, talk about the versatility of the monk. You
Hmm.
want to do crazy bleed damage and get awesome stacks with
Hmm.
a rogue. Stumbling in tigers can be very good. Even some crane stuff. If you want to be a monk who's also a team support unit who sets other players up for success, it sounds like Wolf, because wolves fight in packs. It sounds like Wolf is really great for basically setting up the sneak attack,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
good.
useful.
It's good crowd. It's actually really good crowd control. So you're pretty much setting up the battlefield for your party members.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good. And also, if you just want to be the grapple monk
Mhm.
and control the battle by literally crushing it under your bulging biceps, that's also
Oh
a good
yeah, dude.
idea.
Was it grapple monk grab, crushing crab, and then rolling throw?
Yeah, you go gorilla stance, right? So you just pound them, and pounding them immediately grapples for free. So
Hmm.
bing, grab, crush, and then you just toss them.
Yeah, that flow is nice.
Oh, that's a
Hmm.
fun build.
Yeah.
It's probably not the most powerful, but it's just
It's
fun.
fun.
It's just
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I like
And also, you know what you're gonna do, like when
Yeah.
you're in combat. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I have all these options. I don't know what to do. Yeah, you have a steady flow chart right there.
Yeah. When in doubt, power bomb.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, we're talking about the level 8 feats now, I think. No?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's arrow snatching. Did
Yeah,
we already
that's
get that?
no, that's what I'm about to talk about.
Got it. I misread that.
Yeah. Arrow snatching. This is prereq is deflect arrow, and if you didn't take that return arrow feat, this is probably what you're gonna get. You pluck missiles from the air and hurl them back at the source. When you successfully deflect an attack with a deflect arrow, as part of that reaction, you can immediately make a ranged strike against the attacker using the projectile you deflected. This is a thrown weapon with the same range increment and effect on a hit, as well as a triggering attack. I
So
kind of want to.
no, what was that?
I was gonna say it's. I kind of want to say, yeah, it does sound a little better than Return Arrow, because this is not just for arrows. This could be for like crossbow bolts or like rocks, but you still have that same range increment. What do you think?
I think what this is doing is giving us a similar ability in a different way. Because the return fire thing is basically just the monk's reflect missile, but what it's doing is it's alleviating any doubt of whether or not you are allowed to shoot it with your bow and arrow. So if I think correctly, and I might be wrong, I think the return missile or whatever was the first one, and then they started kind of slowly releasing the Zen Archer into the stuff, and they created that exact same ability, but for an archer to use without any question.
All right. Let's see.
Let's see here. Next one, I believe, is Iron Blood Stance.
Yeah.
You enter the stance of an impenetrable iron refusing to yield to any blow. You can make iron sweep unarmed attacks. These deal 1d8 bludgeoning damage. They have non-lethal parry, sweep, unarmed in the brawling group. While in Iron Blood Stance, you get a +2 resistance to all damage, 3 at level 12, 4 at 16, and 5 at 20. This is interesting because this is the start of a stance. This is not a continuation. This is a stance that starts at level 8, and I think this is a better version of a tank stance, if you will. The previous tank stance was like, you can't move and your AC doesn't change.
Yeah, this is a lot better than that mountain stance, but the fact that you're getting at level 8, I kind of want to say, yeah, the plus the 2 resistance is nice and all, but compared to a lot of other stuff you could have gotten, it does lag a little behind. I would have preferred if this was maybe a feat level 2 or 3 that you could get.
I think, yeah, it's difficult to say because what's interesting about this stance is that end game, you're getting a +5 resistance on top of any other damage resistances you may have. That's kind of good. But really, it's the parry. The fact that your arms can provide you AC bonuses is kind of nice, because the problem with mountain stance is that, yeah, if you want to play a monk tank, that could be interesting. But mountain, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Iron Blood, it kind of is. There's no penalties. You still get all your movement, you get all your dex to AC, you get bonuses for parrying, and you get a damage resistance. And considering how stupid thick your AC is because of your training, you don't need bonuses to AC. I think it's better if you want to play a tank monk. This stance is the tank monk to get.
Oh, I definitely agree. The next ability feat that we're gonna talk about is another stance from the Advanced Player's Guide, but this is an interesting stance because it's actually also a key spell. It's from the Advanced Player's Guide. It's called Clinging Shadows Initiate. You learn a mystical stance that transforms your ki into sticky smoke that shrouds your limbs, clinging to everything you touch. You gain the Clinging Shadow Stance ki spell. Increase the number of your focus points by 1. When entering the stance, uses a key spell. The shadow grasp attacks it grants are not, so you can use them as often you like while in the stance. So pretty much to activate the stance, you're using one key spell, but there's no upkeep.
Yeah, I do like that, and I think that's why it is a key point expenditure because it's so
Yeah,
useful in that way.
yeah. The spell itself is called Clinging Shadow Stance. Casting it is one action, somatic, and the duration is until you leave the stance. You adopt the stance of Clinging Shadows. You can make Shadow Grasp attacks. These deal 1d4 negative damage, are in the Brawling group, have the Agile, Grapple, Reach, and Unarmed traits. While in the Clinging Shadow stance, you get a +2 bonus to athletic checks to grapple and the DC for creatures to escape from you. So another really good ability for you to do that grapple monk, and it gives you also that really cool, I want to say, ninja vibe, or that one character from Naruto, that the shadow ninja.
I was just thinking that Shikamaru. I
Sakumaru,
think
yeah.
this is his symbol. I think this is his. I think this is rat, and I think rat is where he bases his jutsus off of.
Yeah.
Why do I know that? Anyway, no,
You're a
it's
weeb.
super cool, and I am, whether I believe it or not, I am. The one thing to remember though about this dance, chat, it gives you reach and grapple.
Yeah.
That means you can grapple automatically anything you hit in a 10-foot radius of you. 10-foot radius.
Yeah.
So you're just grab. I mean, obviously you're limited, but like still.
I kind of want to say there is like there might be general feats or skill feats, or at least there's feats you could get if you go archetype that could increase that range, maybe.
Maybe. Ooh, I don't know if this will work. I don't know the math, but I'm just thinking Shadow Dancer. Shadow Dancer and this
Possibly.
monk. Oof.
Or homebrew something. Homebrew something.
Well, that's actually very true. We could homebrew something. Mixed maneuver. 2 actions. Master in athletics. You combine 2 different maneuvers together into a single flowing whole. Choose any 2, grapple, shove, and trip. Attempt both of the attacks you chose against the same or different creatures. You don't apply the multiple attack penalty until after resolving both of these maneuvers. So this is really cool. For 2 actions, you are literally doing 2 actions to 1 or 2 different people with no penalty. So you can shove one guy away and then headlock the other.
Yeah. Or
No
I kind of want
penalty
to
to
say you do that one wrestling move where you jump in the air, kind of grab somebody in a headlock, and then you use your legs to kind of shove away another person. Kind of like as, oh God, what do you call that? It's using them as kind of a bouncing off pad or something, whatever it's called.
Oh, a springboard.
Yeah, springboard, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're getting really close to that time to leave. So what I'm going to do, actually, because I have another stream I gotta do, is I've already sent a message to Michael. I don't think he's got it. That's so fine. Don't you worry, Michael. Let's put a big old bookmark here because we're only at level 8, and there's another 12 levels of feats left.
Yeah.
So why don't we make this a part 2, and the part 2 will cover these feats, we'll cover spells, and if you guys want, we can have a much longer build next week, and we can kind of figure out different monk stuff, as well as whatever we decide to build with you guys at the table.
Sure.
Awesome. Before we go, Reap Psyche says, Shikamaru, a.k.a. the best one. No cap, no discussion. Shikamaru best. Yeah, and Rock Lee and Mike Guy, but I'm a huge Rock Lee and Mike Guy fan.
I like Shikamaru because he's sneaky.
He's the sneakiest. All right. Well, why don't we take the time now to say our goodbyes to you amazing people, starting, of course, with Mr. Michael Powell. Mr. Michael Powell, tell us who you are and where we can find you on that great, great internet.
Well, you can find me all over the internet on my social medias, which is at Mr. Kapow. That's MrKapao, or my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ Michael Powell does stuff, because I do a lot of stuff, like my YouTube channel, which is Fantastic Tales of Adventure. And also on Thursdays on, I believe, what is it? Toyzilla Network here on Twitch, I'm part of a show called Toyzilla Live, where we talk about toy news and nostalgia stuff. So it's a lot of fun, very informative. So join us there.
Heck yeah. Love to hear that as always. My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at pj.mcgaw, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Come find me. Let's have a good time. When I'm at Hero Tuesdays with Mr. Michael Powell, you can find me as the GM of Nat20 Productions, homebrew Pathfinder second edition show, Edge of Legends. Edge of Legends, they are in the godland of Azmokan. They survived their first day. They almost got into a serious trouble on their first set of rolls. I kind of want to see what danger we can come into tomorrow, he says knowingly. So this weekend, we have Poison Tulips on Saturday from twitch.tv/Gilding Light. I think it's our 5th episode out of 8. So we're starting to round them down. So come in and check it out if you get a chance. The VOD should be on Gilding Light as well. It's just a bunch of bards having chaos. And before I forget, 2 things. One, a huge thank you to Reap Psyche, Scups, Juicy, and everyone else at Jasper's Game Day. They sent me an email, I think yesterday, telling me that together the entire week raised over $90,000 for suicide prevention and awareness. And it was such an amazing honor and journey to be a part of that charity and to be a part of that silly game. It was so good with the talking hell pony and the cookies. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me know. We're going to get you those VODs soon. And last but not least, in 3 hours, your boy is coming back on 2 hours of sleep to do the last episode of Angels in the Boardroom on Life Action Roleplay. That's right, tonight, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Angels in the Boardroom fires up. The Devils had their chance, and now it's all on the Angels. Armageddon's a-coming. What are we going to do with our last day on Earth? Tune in, find out. Hopefully I can find the big guy who's been gone for apparently most of eternity. And I'll see you then. And I will see you here, same Nat time, same Nat channel, at the table. Be safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.